What's going on, guys? Dan Watson. I am here with Quay, and we are in his awesome studio in Orlando, Florida, right here with Sony's new A7c camera. Quay, tell me a little bit about this place. It's really awesome.
Yeah, so this essentially workplace is a combination of my passion of photography and specialty coffee. So it's a mixed-use space. We have a full 400 square feet studio, as you can see, that we're sitting in right now. We also have specialty coffee. We also have some workstations for people to work out of as well.
So we'll head to the coffee shop. If you need to see any of his stuff, I'll link to his IG. Really incredible stuff right there. His YouTube channel, everything in the description. But let's go take a look at the coffee shop. We'll shoot some B-roll with the A7c and see how it works out. All right, so this is a brand new design from Sony here, and kind of unexpected, I would say. I mean, Sony's really been sticking with kind of that same body style of camera, both in the A6600 and the A7 series camera.
Yeah.
This is kind of a little bit of a blend between them, but honestly, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's got a new look to it. I'm really digging it. The rubber grip just feels different, metal body, dual colors. This is awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like it too. It's like if you put a 6600 and A7III together and had a baby, like what would you get? And like this is essentially it right here.
Yeah, I didn't have the best impressions when I first saw the pictures of this thing, but now actually handling it in real life, it is a whole lot better than I thought. It's got the flip screen, so that's awesome. It also seems to be more of a portrait orientation than the 16:9 screen that we have on the 6600 series. So, I mean, the button layout is a little bit different even from the 6600, especially compared to the A7 series. So what are kind of some of the differences that you think about this?
Right off the bat, it has different types of texture. I like it. It has a silver top, which to me adds a little bit more luxury. It's a little bit nicer.
Right.
And it has like the R4 and the S3 buttons. So they protrude out a little bit more, so you can actually feel some of the buttons. I mean, so far I like it. They also added the new flaps for the SD card and the batteries as well. And of course, for the vloggers and the people that want to take images of themselves, you have the flippy screen.
Yeah. So we definitely have fewer buttons. No custom function buttons or anything like that. So that's a little bit gone. Very similar style layout on the back of this thing though. You can customize any of these buttons. But we do lack some of the other controls that I used to set for a couple things. You probably did too.
Yeah, of course. You can still customize the wheel though.
Right.
So if you want to go into like APS-C mode, a shortcut of mine is I usually shortcut it to the down arrow.
Yeah.
There's also 3 settings as well. So may not have the custom buttons, but still has some of the settings and still has some of the customizable menu items.
So no front dial either, kind of similar to the A6600 or A6400 cameras, but it is an extremely light and compact body for a full frame camera. This is actually pretty crazy small for a full frame camera. So let's talk a little bit about who this camera is for. So Sony's kind of outlined a few things. You know, you and I kind of fall into, like, we already have some Sony cameras, so this is kind of our weekend camera that we take out a lot, or B cameras. Also, I guess vlogging is going to be really cool with this camera. In fact, video in general, so if you're a videographer and you're shooting Sony, this is actually Sony's best camera other than the A7S III, which is $3,000. So this is really an impressive video camera for all the others.
Can you call this a baby A7S III?
Almost. I think, I mean, it gives you a lot of the stuff that we haven't seen in any other video camera. So it still is absolutely awesome for that. If you're an enthusiast shooter, it is also a very nice camera because it gets you stepped up in a full frame, gets you the image quality, amazing autofocus and stuff like that. It is a little bit pricier though. It's
a little bit simpler. They took out some of the buttons, so it's a little bit cleaner. They also have the top record button right here, right next to the trigger. So that helps. So, it feels good, all the buttons.
See, and that's what I noticed when I picked it up. So if you're not used to kind of these more advanced cameras or just want a simpler camera for the weekends or an enthusiast camera, this is actually doing it a bit nicer than I first expected that it would.
If you want, I mean, it's not a bad price point at $1,800. If you want a higher quality full frame camera, if you already have all the Sony lenses and you want something just a little bit better with a little bit more features, it's a great camera for me. I'm probably going to use it a lot more over my R3 or my S3. And the reason why is because I have 2 kids and I want to be able to just grab something and go. And use it as like a second camera or a B cam. It's smaller, easier to use. There's not that many functions, and it's just just shooting pictures.
Right. So I think it's going to be one of the big markets for this camera. So if you've got other A7 series cameras like you do and I do, this might be a really cool second camera to just kind of port around. So we do have to kind of mention that APS-C cameras are a little bit cheaper in here, and you can get them with some really wide aperture lenses on this. So the main advantage to full frame is going to be that low light performance, dynamic range, but that only comes if you're using it with some wide aperture lenses. So like the kit 3.5 to 5.6 style lenses, Fujifilm has an X-T4, which is a really powerful APS-C camera with f2.8 to f4 kit lenses that come in at the exact same price. That kind of gives you a little bit more as far as video features and even a little faster and stuff like that.
Right, but if for the same price, Sony actually has a pretty decent lineup of lenses that are a little bit more affordable now and probably at the same price points as some of the Fuji glass. So there's the 21.8, which is a phenomenal glass if you want to shoot astro. Right, so you have the 34-1.8, you have the 55-1.8, you have the 85-1.8. So there's some really, really sharp lenses at super affordable prices now. And then you can also find them on the secondary market if you don't want to buy them new.
Tamron has some good, really nice zoom lenses, the f2.8 aperture for Sony too.
Tamron, Sigma, and Sigma's pretty much redone, their entire lineup pretty much.
In fact, that Tamron 28-75 2.8 is probably going to be an amazing lens for this. It's still really compact, gives you the high-end aperture.
Yeah, I mean, I still stay native. But for the most part, there's a lot of options now. It's not like 5 years ago where there was just a 35-1.4 and the 55-1.8. There's a ton of options now.
So a few other specs on the video side. So 4K 24, 4K 30, 1080p up to 120 frames per second. You do have like all the HLG, S-Log2, S-Log3. So Sony is not holding back on anything with unlimited recording. The new autofocus, you get eye autofocus in video mode. There's a whole lot of benefits here for video shooters.
Yeah, and on the stills and picture side, there's a new processor, so you're actually getting more photos, 740 photos in about about an hour and 40 minutes, not 100, but an hour and 40 minutes of record time. So the processor is helping you get more out of the current battery. Yeah,
so same battery as the A7 series camera, which I don't know how they fit it in there, but they pulled it off, so that's awesome. So overall, a really cool camera here. It is also built magnesium alloy, fully dust and moisture resistant, stuff that you wouldn't normally see in a more entry-level camera. This costs a little bit more than some of the other entry-level cameras that we've seen from some other manufacturers, but it does take things up a step when it comes to build quality as well. So you've actually been shooting with the camera for a week. So kind of impressions of actually shooting with it.
So the autofocus is much faster and helps me a little bit more when it comes to kids sports. It's able to grab a lot faster. The image quality still is just as good as the A7 III. Same performance in regards to just the picture quality. But if you're somebody that I can't shoot manual focus for the life of me, so the autofocus helps me a lot. Even when it comes to wildlife and especially kids photos. So this is the camera that I'm taking on the weekends and I'm shooting my kids with it. But same great low light capabilities as the A7 III and even for video as well. So when we shot the B-roll for the coffee, it was a little bit dimmer. So definitely some great and fast autofocus points.
Right, so even though this is the same sensor as the A7 III, that camera is still like probably one of the best, if not the best, full frame sensors on the market for like that 24 megapixel. There's a lot of other 24 megapixel cameras, and that camera is still holding its own as one of the best. So you're still getting amazing image quality out of this, which is awesome. So vloggers too, I mean, if you're a Sony shooter, this is probably the best. This is the best video camera other than the S3 that's coming out now. So it is pretty much an A7 III when it comes to most of your specs. So it's cheaper than the A7 III right now, but not by a whole lot.
Yeah.
And it gives you kind of that full frame in a very small body, but you know, it would be nice to see a couple upgrades here and there.
In regards to some of the upgrades, you know, you have the new autofocus system in here. So for me, if I'm shooting sports or shooting wildlife, I'm locking onto a bird or I'm locking onto the ball, and I'm you know, following along the whole time. I do like the flip screen a lot, and then the EVF is flush. It's a little small, but I can definitely use it. It's definitely usable. And I also like the grip and the texture of it.
Yeah. The autofocus system in this camera, Sony is by far the best right now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other good systems out there. Sony is still beating everybody, I think. The touch screen is not the newer one, so it is a little laggy. You can't touch menus or anything like that. It's tap to focus. It's just a little bit laggy on most things. So very similar to like the A7 III on that. Doesn't have the new menu structure of the S3. So if you're familiar with Sony cameras, you'll get all that. But otherwise, I mean, it's a very good system overall, and it gives you a ton of very nice features. So I think Sony has really clearly defined this camera in terms of the other cameras that they have in the lineup. It really has a good kind of spot in between that 6600 and like the A7 III. Kind of makes me really excited to see what they do with the A7 IV, because I think they might take it up a notch with that one. However, if you're coming to a new camera system, or if this is like your first Sony or you're really upgrading, it's kind of an interesting one because it gives you some good features compared to the A7 III, but in some ways the A7 III might be a little bit better. You get dual cards, you have the EVF if you like using an EVF. It might be a little bit larger, but not really in most areas. Like it's a little bit higher, but the width is pretty much the same on that. So I think for a lot of people, if you're stepping up from APS-C, there's kind of a lot of reason to still like the A7 III. Even with this camera, right? I mean,
has a lot of the similar features. Still getting 10 frames per second with it, you know.
So definitely hit us up in the comments if you have any questions on the camera. We've been using it for a while. He's been using it for a whole lot. So where can they find you?
So you can always find me at the coffee shop here. We are located in downtown Orlando in the Mills 50 district. It's called Create Coffee, spelled with a Q. Spelled with a Q. So you can also find my work on Instagram around Q, and then my YouTube channel, my little YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So follow that, subscribe.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon in a new video coming up.
All right, cool.
Cool.